In this video, I will be installing ChromeOS Flex on a separate drive and dual booting with Windows. When you install ChromeOS Flex by default, it will use your first drive and won't give you any other option. But if you want to keep things separate, I will show how to install it on a separate drive, such as an NVMe or SSD. You'll need a USB flash drive of at least 8 GB for the ChromeOS Flex installation media, and on your separate drive, you'll need at least 16 GB. So on my computer here, disk 0 is my main drive, and there's drive C, which has Windows, and here's disk 1, 223 GB. This is my NVMe drive, and this is where I'm going to be installing ChromeOS Flex. And now I'm going to be plugging in my USB flash drive, where I'm going to be putting the ChromeOS Flex installation media. All right, so it comes up, disk 2, this is my USB flash drive. It's 58.98 GB, which is more than enough. Now you need to download ChromeOS Flex. The recent versions of Flex prevent you from installing onto a separate drive, but you can still get this to work by using a previous version. So I'll be downloading version 117, which is not easily available, and I have included a link in the description below. And once it's finished downloading, next need to download Rufus, and Rufus will allow us to put the ChromeOS Flex installation media onto a USB drive. So go to rufus.ie and scroll down, and I'm going to download the portable version. And once everything is downloaded, go into your downloads folder, and I'm going to extract the Chrome OS zip file. All right, it's been extracted, and it's 6.58 GB. Now I'm going to run Rufus. Yes. Yes. And select your USB drive. In my case, it's already selected. And then I'm going to select the ChromeOS image, show all files, select the bin file, and then hit start. And it's giving a warning that all data on the USB drive will be destroyed. Okay. All right, it's completed. Close. So going back into disk management, you should see a 64 megabyte partition, UEFI-system. And if you don't see it, try to do a refresh in disk management or replug your USB drive. Next, I'm going to access it by assigning it a drive letter. I'll do the Z drive. And I'm going to open it up. Going into the EFI folder, and then the boot folder, and then the grub configuration file. I'm going to open it up with Notepad. And under each menu entry line, you'll see that it says here cross_EFI. And I'm going to append cross_debug onto the line for each instance. So I'm going to go to Edit, Replace, and I'm going to look for cross_EFI, and then I'm going to append cross_debug to it, and then replace all. So this will give me dev mode. Close, and then we see it's been added in. And it's been added in here, it's been added in here, and it's been added in here. So there's 5 instances in total. And I'm going to save and close. Now I'm going to reboot my computer and go into the BIOS. In my BIOS, I have secure boot disabled, and if you have fast boot, have it disabled as well. And next, boot from your USB drive. In my case, I have a boot override, so I can do a one-time boot. For me, you can see it's listed as UEFI, USB hard drive, partition 12. Partition 12 was the Z drive that was seen earlier in Windows. Alright, the welcome screen comes up. Get started. And then select Try It First. Hit Next. And then Browse as Guest. And then I'm going to untick Send Diagnostics and Usage Data. Accept and continue. All right, I'm in Flex, and then open up a terminal, hit Control-Alt+T, type in shell, And then next type in ls block so we can see the disks and partitions. All right, so in my case here, there's SDA, which is my internal drive, which has Windows on it. There's 4 partitions. And then there's SDB, which is my flash drive. And this has the Chrome OS installation media. And finally, at the bottom, I have NVMe 0 and 1, which is my NVMe drive. And this is where I'm going to install Chrome OS Flex. So type in sudo Chrome OS install the destination. So for me, it's going to be dev NVMe 0 and 1, and then skip destination removable and skip source removable. Enter. And it's asking to confirm, as this will erase everything on my NVMe drive. Yes. And so it's going to install it, and this will take a little bit of time. All right, it's completed. So now I'm going to shut down my computer and remove the USB drive, and then power on and go back into the BIOS. All right, in my boot options, first I have the Windows Boot Manager, and the second option is UEFI OS, which is actually ChromeOS Flex, but in your BIOS, it may actually be labeled as so. So I'm going to change it now and boot into Flex. All right, the welcome screen comes up again, but this time it's on my NVMe drive. Go to Get Started. And then for now, I'm just going to browse as guest. I'm going to uncheck, accept and continue. All right, so I'm in ChromeOS Flex. Now, it can get a bit tedious to go between Windows and Flex this way, so I'm going to install the Refined Boot Manager so I can easily select between the two. So I'm going to restart and go back into Windows. All right, so I'm back in Windows. Open up your browser and search for Refined Download and select the first link, SourceForge, and download it. Once it's downloaded, going to extract Refined. And then open it up, and then go into the Refined directory. And here I'm going to remove any files and folders that are not related to the 64-bit architecture. So ARM and 32-bit, delete. And then the tools directories, delete. And then the refined EFI files, delete. And the refined conf file, I'm going to remove the dash sample at the end. Yes. And then now I'm going to install Refine on the existing EFI partition, which is the most common scenario. Open up a command prompt as administrator. And now I'm going to mount the EFI partition onto the Z drive. Going into the Z drive. All right, I can see the EFI partition, so that's good. I'm going to go back out, C drive, and now I'm going to go into the Refine directory. dir, and I'm going to go into the parent, dir, and then I'm going to copy the Refine directory onto the EFI partition. All right, it's been copied, so that's good. Now I'll be changing the BCD entry so that it'll boot Refined. So first, I'm going to type in bcd edit /enum firmware, and we can see the entries, and scrolling up, and we see here the boot manager entry, and it's booting the Windows Boot Manager, so that will have to be changed. And first, before changing it, I'm going to make a backup of it. So I'll do an export. And also, as well as, I'll get a copy of the bcd enum firmware output, put it into a file. And now I'm going to make the change. BCD edit, set boot manager, the path will be EFI refined refine underscore x64.efi. And I'm going to change the description. And it's been changed as well. And I'm going to check the output. And we see it's been changed. And so it should automatically boot into Refine now. But to confirm, I am going to reboot my computer and go into the BIOS. All right, so I have Refine as boot option number 1, as expected. I'm going to get out of the BIOS and have it boot into Refine. All right, so Refine comes up and there's multiple options here, and you can use the arrow keys to move between the options, and I'm going to go through each of them. So this first option here, it's going to boot the VM Linux image, and this option will also boot the VM Linux image. This would boot into Grub for ChromeOS Flex. In other words, it will boot into ChromeOS Flex. And here the boot fallback bootloader from EFI system, this would also boot into ChromeOS Flex. And then this option would boot into Windows. And this option would just boot into Refine again. And going down, this would go into the computer setup utility, the BIOS. This would reboot my computer. This will shut it down. And this is the manage the hidden tags. So if you want to hide any of the options, and this is information about Refined, and this will start the MOK utility, the machine owner key utility. It's related to secure boot. And this would go into the UEFI shell. So if I want to hide any of these entries here, so for example, if I want to hide this entry, I can hit delete, and then yes. And then I want to hide this one, delete, yes. And so I have here grub. This will go into ChromeOS Flex. This option would also go into ChromeOS Flex, but I'm going to hide this one as well. Delete, yes. And then this would just boot Refined again. So I'm going to hide it, delete, yes. And then so I have here ChromeOS Flex and I have here Windows. And if I ever want to unhide any of the options, go into the Manage Hidden Tags menu. And then for example, if I want to unhide this option, enter to restore it, and we see it comes back. And I'm going to confirm that I can go into ChromeOS Flex. All right, so I'm able to go into ChromeOS Flex. And then now I'm going to make sure I can go into Windows, selecting Windows. All right, so I'm back in Windows. So that's it. That's how you can install ChromeOS Flex on a separate drive and do a boot with Windows. I hope this video was useful, and I thank you for watching. Bye now.